Will compulsory ID cards stop the small boats?
Well, we only just heard about this evening, didn't we? So it's rather timely, your question, Ian. Keir Starmer is apparently going to set out plans tomorrow for digital ID cards. Lisa, Nandy, please do tell us more.
Well, we've been thinking about, as a government, what we can do, pulling every lever at our disposal to make sure that we get a grip on the immigration chaos, that we're able to welcome people to this country who have a right to be here, and that we're able to swiftly process and return people who don't. And I think many towns around the country have got really fed up with the levels of chaos that we've seen. In my town in Wigan, we have had a couple of asylum hotels open up. We've had a lot of HMOs being bought up to rent out to asylum seekers that have made life quite difficult for the local population.
How will these digital ID cards work?
Well, one of the things that we're thinking about is whether to introduce digital ID, and we think there is some merit in this. The Prime Minister will say a bit more about this tomorrow, but we think that they offer two benefits. The first is that they'll be able to make sure that people are able to prove their right to be here, to work here legally very easily, which will then help us to deal with the illegal economy and stop people being undercut at work. But we also think there might be big benefits as well for citizens. If you think about the way that the NHS app has developed in recent years, and now you're much more able to do things like make GP appointments online and access your medical records, we think there may be benefits to the general population as well. But I would just say this: beware of any politician who tells you that when it comes to getting control of immigration, there is one single solution. We are coming at this from every single angle, disrupting the gangs, supporting people who have the right to be here, returning people.
We know that's not
I'm sorry, Richard, but you've had a lot to say about this week, and it's a different story every single time. The truth is, beware these snake oil salesmen who tell. That's just not true. I mean, we've deported more people under this government than ever before.
Can I just bring you back to the question about ID cards? Let me just, because we're also only just finding out about this. Will it be compulsory for people to carry ID cards?
Well, look, the Prime Minister is going to make some comments about this tomorrow. I can't preempt them, but what I can say to you is beware these snake oil salesmen who tell you that there are simple solutions. If there were simple solutions, they would have been done by now. Don't buy what this guy is selling.
I'll come to you in a minute. Just let me go around the panel. Luke, is this something that the Conservative Party supports?
Well, Ian's question was, is it going to solve it? No. Full stop. That's not going to solve it. I take a step back. Why are we having this debate tonight, of all nights, with an announcement made like this? There's something called in politics the dead cat theory. When you're not sure what to do, you throw a dead cat out to distract, because the Prime Minister's under pressure from the likes of Andy Burnham coming forward and putting pressure on him. This would be the perfect place to have this discussion in Parliament. Why are we not announcing this to Parliament? We've had the recognition of Palestine announced outside. This was planned by the government. They could have had scrutiny in Parliament, yet we don't. So I can't answer any of these questions because neither can Lisa. Lisa's come out here to defend it, and she's only found out that she's going to be doing it tonight.
I mean, the leader of your party, Kemi Badenoch, says it gives the impression she's not sure if it will work. Chris Philp seems to think it might have some merit. Do you think?
Well, this is why we need to explore it.
You just don't know.
I genuinely don't.
Okay, you don't know.
Well, let me just ask that question, because we don't know. Is it going to be access for NHS? What about digitally excluded people? Are they going to have them? I mean, it's a bizarre situation that Tony Blair put this forward back when he was in government, and then only last year, and now the new government has decided actually we like this after voting against voter ID. So it seems very mixed. I don't quite understand where we're trying to get to.
It's called a gimmick.
Well, this has just come into the public domain today. Let's hear what our audience think about it. It's our first chance to do so. Yes, man, there.
A digital ID card, how will it physically stop people coming to the shore?
Look, this is
Great question.
Well, I know, but I mean, don't listen to these two. I mean, this government presided over record levels of immigration and stopped processing asylum claims, which is why so many towns around the country have been dealing with what we've been seeing in recent days. That's the point that I'm making, is that there is no one single solution to this. I tell you what will stop people coming over on small boats: if we disrupt the criminal gangs. That's why what we've done.
How's that work?
Over 50,000 in your 12 first flight took off last week.
In the last
Sorry,
14 months,
sorry.
you're up 40% this year alone. Smashing the gangs has encouraged the gangs.
But
it's a
it
catastrophe.
hasn't encouraged the gangs. The first
Then
flight
why are the numbers up over 40% this calendar year?
First returns to France happened last week.
Brilliant, 3. So 50,000 in and 3 out.
Sorry,
Let me just wait a minute, because I want to hear a bit more from our audience.
We
We're
know that
slightly
you
off the
guys
subject here.
find it hard to
Man
do
there in the
maths,
check
but
shirt.
that is just nonsense.
Man there in the check shirt.
In my opinion, I don't think it's going to stop immigration, but it's going to open doors to having ID cards on your phone without producing the thing. But it is going to open up fraud where people can create false apps and then it can be reproduced. So it defeats the purpose of bringing it on phones when we've already had cyber attacks that are happening now. And how do we not know they're going to happen to our phones?
Okay, man here.
It's really interesting to sort of bring it up. I think it's only literally just been released, so how is anyone supposed to form sort of like a critical opinion on it, or say that it works or it doesn't work? The actual issue is sort of asylum and people coming in and people not processing claims. That is the problem. That's what needs to be solved.
I'm in So I'm a bit confused by your leader at his conference, because in the same speech he seemed to think it was a really bad idea, but on the other hand he said, well, maybe we need to move the times and actually have ID cards.
So we have put out a very clear statement this evening, because the reports that we're reading and hearing about this evening suggest the government is wanting to introduce a compulsory digital ID scheme. We have always been clear, and Ed has been clear, that the Liberal Democrats do not support a compulsory digital ID scheme. I don't think people in this country should be criminalised if they don't wish to hand over their personal and private data to the state in order to go about their daily lives. And we know this government's, not just this government, every government has been pretty bad at handling and storing our personal data. As a member of the audience said, this is going to cost billions of pounds. And I'm not quite sure, as another member of the audience said, how this is going to actually stop people coming over in small boats or, through other irregular routes. And we've got to think about the digitally excluded, the older people, the vulnerable, and the disabled, those people who perhaps don't have online access. So I have big concerns about any sort of compulsory scheme. We need to see more details, and if the government really wants to bring down the asylum backlog and put a deterrent in place, they would spend some of this money that they want to spend on digital ID cards on putting in place what we proposed this week was a Nightingale processing centres, so doubling the number of people processing asylum claims so that we can clear this massive backlog that we've got in the space of 6 months, deport those who shouldn't be here.
You think you could do that in 6 months?
If you double...
Because I've looked at this, your suggestion about Nightingale Centre. So you're suggesting, as you say, doubling the number of cases
under emergency powers,
and building or finding centres where the processing can be done. What makes you think you can do that in 6 months?
Well, because there is emergency contingencies legislation in place that we would use, because this is, I think, an urgent emergency situation. It's a humanitarian situation for those people stuck in those hotels, and clearly it is an urgent situation for the communities that have those hotels in their areas. So
and how much do you think it would cost?
Well, I think it would cost a lot less than housing people.
How much? You must have some idea.
Ballpark.
No, I don't have a ballpark for you today, but I can tell you, you will save, if in 6 months you've cleared the backlog and you can deport a lot of those people back.
But just to be clear, we have doubled the rate of asylum claims that we process since we
millions
took
of
office.
pounds
So
a
we've
day
already
on
done that.
hotels. Those millions of pounds could be spent on processing the backlog and deporting the people who can't be here.
No, it's just my point is that we have already doubled the rate of processing
Well,
asylum
I'm telling
claims
you
since
to
we took
double them
office.
again, because that is the way to deter
Just to be
people
clear,
coming here.
you've no idea how much that would cost.
On ID cards, I don't think that is going to solve the
Okay, you
asylum
made that
problem.
clear. Richard Tice.
So the question is, will compulsory ID cards stop the boats? The simple answer is no, of course it won't. We've already got 2 forms of ID. It's called passports and it's national insurance numbers, and you have to have a national insurance number to work. So if we use those properly, if we're worried about, which we are, the quantity of people who are here illegally and working illegally, then we should use the national insurance numbers properly with a proper deterrent, significant deterrent for employers that break the laws. We know that governments are very bad at managing big IT projects, whether it's Tony Blair's efforts 20 years ago, whether it's the Post Office Horizon scandal. This would cost billions of pounds, bound to overrun and would achieve absolutely nothing and would take years to introduce. So it's a disastrous idea.
And they're in the blue sweater, or grey sweater I think you've got on there, yeah.
Doesn't this actually mean smaller government, which I would have thought would have appealed to you, Mr. Tice, because we already have a number of IDs, you know, national insurance, driver's licence, passports, etc. Would it also deter people from coming to the UK on the basis that they would know that without this document they wouldn't be able to work in the kind of gig economy?
Well, in theory, with national insurance numbers, you shouldn't be able to work without one of those, but that's not being properly enforced because there's not a proper deterrent. So no, it'll make no difference whatsoever. Those who want to come here illegally and work illegally, that's what they're doing. There has to be a proper deterrent.
And they're in the UNRAC, yeah.
Well, if I was an immigrant sitting over there in France, I'd be saying to myself, well, they're going to have ID cards. I better not go to England. Someone's having a laugh, ain't they? It's not going to work. It's a stupid idea. And I totally agree with the Nightingale Centres. We need to process these people. These are, so most of them are decent people. They're well educated. They've done well. They've travelled all the way across Europe to get here, so they've got to have some initiative. Let's get them in our workforce. Let's get them processed and get them working so they can pay back.
Yeah. All right. Billy, will compulsory ID cards stop the small boats?
No. I don't think, as the gentleman was saying there, I don't think they'll stop the small boats. But I'm concerned more...
So when the French government, for example, I'm not saying if they're right or they're wrong, but one of their arguments is the pull factor of coming to the United Kingdom is that because we don't have ID cards, it's much easier to come over and then disappear into the employment black market.
But they do have ID cards in France, don't they? Does it stop immigrants going there? I don't think it does it? No. My concern is more about civil liberties, to be perfectly honest with you. All of a sudden, it's put the whole problem onto us. We're going to be the people who have to be carrying these cards around. So if you're acting in a way that is not standard, the way people, you know, the council or the police look at it, the chances are you're going to be stopped. Since the Equalities Commission said that trans women shouldn't use ladies' toilets, cis women are being confronted because they don't present in a traditional feminine way. They're being angrily confronted in ladies' toilets now. And I think this will be the same. Any person who doesn't look like a standard English person could be stopped by the police or the authorities, demand to produce their card. And even those people who do look like a standard English person, if we can decide what that is. Say you're going down to Euston one day and you get there to find that the authorities have closed the station because they're checking for illegal immigrants and everybody has to go through their system to get out of the railway station. This is the sort of society we're moving towards. I don't think we should do it.
Woman there in the middle, in the dark top.